Hi, it's time for good energy, and I'm Dr. Julie, and welcome to Bodyful Day 239. We are talking about cold extremities and the senses. This is day 2 of cold extremities and the senses, and we are talking about how the sense of smell helps us or hinders us in our goal to achieve warm hands and feet. All right, before we jump into all this, remember we've got our basics, so we're going to start with our deep breath in and release. Deep breath in, big one, expand in the belly, expand in the chest, expand in the sinuses, and release. And we are talking about cold hands and feet and the sense of smell. You're probably wondering how I'm going to connect them. But I want you to think into the time that you went outside and it was the coldest and what the smell was. So go ahead, think back into your memory of the smell of the coldest day you ever had outside. Deep breath in and release. Now, a while back, I told you that there was a time when I was living in Minnesota, in Minneapolis area, that I had gotten to the point where I could tell the difference between teens, single digits, and below zero. And not by how it felt, but by how it smelled. And now, I will say I cheated a little bit because some of it was also how the nose hairs would freeze or not freeze in my nose. But there was also a smell associated with cold. So right now, you recall yesterday, I was out in a sweater and a t-shirt and sitting on the French steps, and it was actually a little humid. It is now cold and windy and blustery. Here in southeastern Iowa, we have shifted into full November right now. So my point being is that I can smell the difference between yesterday and today. It is very clear that there is a distinct smell difference in those 2 days. Now, what does this have to do with extremities? Well, let's go ahead and consider what we're working on here. So from the healing equation, energy to have warm extremities equals good energy and minus stressors. And today we are working at it from the sense of smell. So sense of smell, remember we talked yesterday about the fact that from a very physiological standpoint, or from a very structural standpoint, the reason that we have cold hands and feet is because the muscles have gotten in the way of the blood flow, nervous system flow, lymphatic flow, and that they need to be massaged or worked out. But we also talked about the sympathetic nervous system and how each of us has a sort of our own dominant sympathetic nervous system response. We either fight or flight, which means we gear up to do something, or we are freeze or fawn folks, which means our nervous system gets us all tucked in. And I shared with you the fact that I have had Raynaud's syndrome or phenomena since I was about 7 years old. And my typical response to stress is to shut in. And so it's not surprising that if my nervous system emotionally shifts in that direction, that my nervous system physiologically also shunts in that direction too. So here's where we're at. We are now exploring how the sense of smell can either trigger a stressor, because we know it can't do anything physical. The sense of smell cannot cut off your shoulders, unless for some reason you sneeze and you get stuck here, or cough and you get stuck here. And the sense of smell can definitely not do anything to your groin and your inguinal canal to cut off flow of energy there. So what we're left with is, how can the sense of smell trigger the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, or likewise the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relax and chill, Let's let that blood flow back out. It's okay. We can get it back out there. So let's think about this for a second. Now, considering the smell of cold, one might expect that if your nervous system is fight or flight and you smell cold, you can get blood out your system because your brain goes, oh, that's cold, I want to fight it. And so you are one of these people that are naturally warmer when it goes out, when you go outside, and you can move around a little bit, and now you have warm hands and warm toes, and it's great. But if the sympathetic nervous system response primarily is to freeze and not go anywhere, smelling cold because it is a stressor is actually going to make your blood move inside of you more. And you, for those of you who have cold hands and feet, you know this happens even if it's warm outside and you walk into a really cold, air-conditioned building. The shift in temperature, the shift in smell, the shift in energy can automatically end up with you going, I can't feel my hands, and it's 68 degrees. What's going on here? It is the change in temperature. The nervous system detects, whether through scent or through touch, we'll get more into this in touch, but detects that shift in cold and does what it normally does in a sympathetic situation. This was an immediate change. We're going to shut you down. Now, smell can do that because the smell of cold will trigger the nervous system response. So if that is a stressor for those of us who have cold hands and feet, then we have to know that smelling warmth is going to do the opposite. So smelling, even if you didn't put your hands around a cup of warm tea, smelling a cup of warm tea, steaming, bringing scent into your nose and into your lungs, and heat is going to start, we're going to say thaw, but is going to start thawing or calming the nervous system so that you can start getting blood out to those hands and feet. So while the nervous system can smell the change in temperature, it can smell danger, it can smell fear if we think about pheromones, it can smell smoke and, a skunk, it's gonna run. And you can choose your escape route, your nervous system escape pattern, and then you can use the opposite. You can use heat, the smell of heat, the presence of heat, into the sinuses, warming up the brain again, warming up the lungs again, and that can actually calm the nervous system down and say, hey, we're warm again. We can smell warmth. So we're going to chill out the system. Now, it also helps when we talk about the sense of smell, and we've talked about this for the sense of smell all the time, to get good energy in, work on smells that are really comforting to you. So for me, cinnamon, very comforting. Rosemary, really comforting. But those may not be your comforting scents. We're looking for the way to get the sense of smell in to tell the nervous system, hey, let's chill. And when the nervous system chills, the sympathetic nervous system chills, the parasympathetic nervous system comes back up, and that allows the body to go, oh yeah, we can get blood out to the rest of you now. And that will allow you to warm up your hands and feet. For those of you who exercise outside in the cold, it's when you initially are exercising in the cold, especially if you are sensitive and your fingers get cold, we get back to the smell of cold. After a while, when you're exercising, even the cold air, because you are warm now, the cold air is soothing, and that's why after you exercise for a while, you can get the heat back into your hands and feet. But initially you can't, because A, you're running, and you don't run, well, you know what I mean. And B, you're breathing cold air. And those two things are working against you when it comes to getting warmth out to your extremities. But after a while, when the body heats up, when the core heats up, then the blood can go to the extremities. When the smell of cold is actually soothing, because you are now warm enough that you need something cooler, then the blood gets to the hands and feet and you are more comfortable. All right. So, as you can tell, I really love the topic of cold extremities because I have them, and it's really fun to talk about ways to help improve cold hands and feet. And we're going to get in some fun stuff. We're going to talk about the concept of chilblains a little later. That's an awesome concept. I never heard about it until I read a fiction book written by Terry Pratchett. And one of the heroes was a 100-and-something-old superhero, and he kept on complaining about his chilblains. And Terry Pratchett later explained that chilblains are when your hands, when your feet and toes or your fingers get so cold that they turn white and then they warm up too quickly, and all those little blood vessels burst and they cause pain. So it's always interesting to learn about your medical conditions while reading fiction. It's awesome. All right, so we'll get back to this tomorrow. I will babble on some more. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Let's finish it off. Take a deep breath in and release. All right, I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care.